Welcome everyone to episode 35 of Popular Polls, your weekly show where I ask you a question or a poll and you get to answer this poll and then we talk about the results from our last question. I'm your host Alex and thanks so much for tuning in. Let's get right into it. Last week I asked you what is or was stopping you from buying an EV, an electric vehicle. Thanks to the 17 people who answered the poll and also the 4 comments I received. So let's jump into the poll results first. Price. Let the money talk. It's always about money, and this should more than just prove it. I mean, 76%, that's 13 of you answered, price is or was stopping you from buying an EV. Sad to see, honestly, but we see that in the market, the prices for EVs are coming down if you're talking used EVs as well as new EVs. Just think about a couple of years back where Tesla, just one example, the cheapest car they were offering was almost twice as expensive, or pretty much twice as expensive, as the cheapest car they're offering now, which would be a Model 3, kind of the standard range plus edition. So it's super interesting to see and super cool to see, and I'm hoping this will get even better going forward. Actually, I'm sure it will. And also don't forget about incentives. What I think currently people are struggling with is capturing the amount of money they will save, not necessarily from, running the car on electricity instead of gas or diesel. I think more savings will come down the line from less maintenance, no oil changes, less parts that could break within your engine and stuff like that. And maybe even a couple of incentives like free parking or no vehicle tax like we have here in Germany. So I don't pay any tax for 10 years on my car. And I also get free parking in Hamburg, which is nice. It doesn't add up to a whole lot, but it adds up to a couple of bucks. And if you do go down into the city center a lot, it might pay off for you. All right, so then 2 people said, that's 11% of you said home charging infrastructure is the issue. I get that, especially people living in apartments in bigger cities. Not something that we can fix super quickly, but I'm sure that startups will emerge more and there will be more public charging stations and battery technology will improve so that this will become less and less of an issue over time. Charging infrastructure in general, okay, 1 person said that, 5%, and I can definitely see that if you're living somewhere in the middle of nowhere where there's actually literally no superchargers from Tesla, if you're looking at buying a Tesla, or if you're not, maybe just no charging stations at all, because if you don't have the supercharger network, you might be screwed even more. And last one, really sad to see this. Happy to see, first of all, that nobody said range anxiety. I think we're over this part at this, stage in our life with electric cars. But sad to see that one person said that he or she doesn't believe in the technology. I was hoping to get a comment from whoever answered like that. From the 4 comments that I received, I don't think that it was one of those that kind of tried to explain why this person didn't believe in the technology. So if you're still out there, I encourage you to just post a comment down under this video, and maybe we can pick it up on next show, just because I think it's an interesting topic and an important topic to talk about. All right, so interesting results, money, and we also saw the money topic in the comments. So starting here with the first comment by, this is the wrong window I'm trying to click, by a BlaBla user. If you don't know, BlaBlaCar is actually a platform where you can do ride sharing, so I'm pretty sure this person probably created their user specifically for signing up to BlaBlaCar. Anyway, that person answered in German, and roughly translated it means, well, because as a student, I can't even buy a regular car. Well, I would argue that as a student, it's not the norm to have a car. When I was a student, I did have a car. It used to be an Opel Zafira. It was kind of a big, it was like a minivan. And then later on, I had a Skoda Fabia, which they got me along, and I actually kept the Skoda all the way until I had my Tesla. So that's okay. But I knew a lot of people who didn't have a car, and I don't think you really need a car, especially if you live in Germany. The infrastructure is really good, and given that BlaBla user here answered in German, I'm pretty sure you'll get around without a car. Hopefully at some point we'll have this whole Tesla network or ride sharing with autonomous cars figured out where you don't even need to own a car to take advantage of one. But until it's that time, I can't really add much to here. If you don't have the money to buy a regular car, I wouldn't expect you to have the money to buy an EV. So still on the money topic though, if EVs would get cheaper, that's great. Then Keen on Life is actually Martin, a friend of mine who runs this channel and who commented here. So if you haven't yet, check out his channel. He also has this beer brewing channel. Really interesting. It's called the Homebrew Challenge, if I'm not mistaken. So that's cool. He said, yes, super excited about the Model Y news. Holy moly, yes, the Model Y is going to be such a great car. Happy to see people get excited about this. Martin is, who runs this channel, Keen on Life, is in the US, so he'll get the Model Y before most of us here in Germany or in Europe. So yeah, really, really interesting to see how the Model Y ramp up is going. Then next comment is from Bloody Gaming. Money. Well, that was easy. We kind of expected this from the results of our poll already. Not much to add here. And then the last one from Maximilian, which I think is short for Maximilian, or Maximilian, which is a German name here. I don't even know if it's German. It might be like, whatever. Let's not get into name dropping here. Said, roughly translated, they're driving currently a Kia Carens as a family car and a Renault Twizy as a second car. So, you know, for like way to work and then to do small shopping stuff. He said a Model 3, I'm guessing it's a he based on the picture and name, Model 3 would be super interesting, but it would be the top limit of, I guess, price-wise they set themselves. And as an alternative, they were looking at the Kia Niro. I hope they meant the e-Niro, but I think that's what they meant. The prices are just gigantic for those both of these EV models. I don't know if by gigantic, because the way it's working in German, this could be a thing where he says they're ginormous, like they're really high, but compared to like a Model S or an Audi e-tron, they're actually quite low. Or if he meant those are great prices, because gigantic, like gigantisch, could also mean like, oh, this is super cool. So I don't know. I really don't know. But yeah, it's prices again. So prices, it is. Thanks for all of you who left a comment. Again, I encourage you to leave a comment also for this week's question. And this one is going to be a stickler and an interesting one. Okay, so I'm going away over the weekend, next weekend, obviously. I'm still here in Hamburg recording this. I might get popular polls delayed, or we'll see. I'll just, you know, throw this in red here. But I'm going over to Denmark for a weekend trip. And I was looking at some random stuff, and all of a sudden something popped back into my mind. I was like, oh, there's something called a vehicle maximum load limit. And I got caught up in this rabbit hole. This happens to me. If you know me, it happens to me quite often that I'm like on this one topic, I'm like, oh shit, now I have to like deep dive into it. Anyway, in this case, it was the maximum vehicle load, so I actually went outside to my Model 3 to check it, and there is a sticker on there that will say the combined weight of all occupants and cargo should never exceed 375 kilograms, which is a bit of an issue, because I was calculating the weight of just us five, because we're driving up there, 5 people, it's us 5 together. Us 5 together, we're already at 400. Well, not exactly. It's like 390 something, but we're already over this. You should never exceed this limit. And then we have some food to take as well as our luggage. So we'll definitely be over the 375. And I was like, wow, this is weird. The Model S should have more load limits, or more weight you can add. So I'm thinking of switching over to a Model S for the weekend. But wow, even my Twizy, calculating it from the German registration papers, you can add 200 kilograms, actually 203. And that's only a 2-people carrier. I guess the doors would add to the overall weight you will add as well. But still, it's only 2 people. And then my old car, the Skoda Fabia, had way over 400 kilograms you could add. And then the Model 3 only at 375. I guess it's because of, you know, the car itself is already really heavy. I don't know, if you have any tips for me, let's put this first. If you have any tips for me, if you have any experience with those maximum load limits, if you've done any tests, I don't really want to test this, but if you've done any tests with exceeding this load limit, did you feel anything different? It's not legal to drive with, you know, more weight in the car than you were allowed to have, so we'll see what happens. Maybe we can get our luggage down to close to zero or something. I don't really know. We'll see what happens, but finally, the question, here it comes. This week I want to know from you, did you ever have to pay attention to the maximum load limit of your car? Or basically, have you ever paid attention to it due to a random reason? To answer, please click the pop-up card, which will pop up in the top right-hand corner of your video right now. And here are your answer choices. One is just yes, because you're like, oh yeah, I totally usually check this, and this is what I do before getting into the car each and every day. The other one is no, like you're like, no, I just never know. Third one would be yes, with the road trip edition, kind of what I'm doing here, because before a road trip, I want to make sure the car is in perfect condition, obviously, because it's not only myself in the car, I'm taking responsibility on for 4 other people, which I dearly love, and I don't want to hurt them in any way, and I don't want to be irresponsible driving a car which is unsafe to drive, because obviously more weight would mean longer driving, longer stopping distance, less range, but I don't really care about the range. I care about the safety here, which is definitely the braking distance, stuff like that. So yeah, maybe you said yes before a road trip. I usually check these things, and I checked this on my last road trip. Maybe you say yes because I was moving with the car. I actually moved with my Skoda. I don't think I've ever went over 400 kilograms, but maybe because you're moving, you're checking your car papers, whatever, and it said your maximum load capacity is X, and you were like, oh, that's interesting. Or option number 5, I didn't even know this existed. Maybe you're like completely like, oh, this doesn't exist. Like, I didn't even, really? Is this a thing? So that would be interesting as well. I definitely knew this existed. I'm not gonna lie, I don't think I've ever really closely paid attention to it. I've definitely calculated how much I can put into my car before. I don't think I've done it with the Model 3, but anyway, it's just one of these things that you rarely ever need. Even if I have 4 people in there with some luggage, I would usually not exceed the 375 kilogram limit. And if you're over by like a kilogram or, a couple of pounds, I don't think it will matter that much. But if you're over by, let's say, 50 or 70 kilos, so over 100 pounds easily, I think that's when you might want to look into maybe, switching over the cars. Maybe there's this huge safety margin in there. I don't really know. Whatever, this is a long video. I want to wrap it up. So I'm definitely looking forward to your answers. Please do leave a comment down in the comment section below, because I feel like this one could be super, super interesting. Well, that's it for this week. Make sure to subscribe, like, and leave a comment. See you all in the next one, which, as I said before, might be a little delayed because I'm on a weekend trip next weekend.